Back here on the Westmoreland Sports Network with one of our favorite coaches, the head coach of the Greensburg Salem Golden Lions, George's and I's alma mater, head coach Randy Parsley. Coach Pars, thank you so much for joining us. Welcome to the broadcast. How you been?
I appreciate the invite. Yeah, I'm doing well. I'm doing as good as anybody else, I guess. We're just trying to stay healthy.
Yeah. Talk a little bit about last year. We want to get a quick review from last year's results, talk about any of the standouts or any of the notables that happened back in 2019, 2020, please.
Yeah, team-wise, we struggled a little bit. But individually, that's a great thing about the sport of wrestling. You could have a down year dual meet-wise, but if you bring hardware home from Hershey, you had a great year. Yeah. And we had a third-place finisher and a seventh-place finisher. So, we had a great year. These kids did well. And the younger kids that didn't make it to Hershey wrestled well. They got to the Pale tournament, and they fight, they battle. That's what our whole concept is. Let's go battle and see what happens. So I was pleased with with everything that happened. So it was good.
I like that you said that they fight and they battle, right? Because even whenever we wrestled at Greensburg Salem, that was kind of the mantra, You go out there and you fight and you battle, Now coming into this year, I know you lost some seniors. How's Greensburg, preparing and planning? I don't want to say to kind of reload, but how are they preparing for this season?
For this year, we're going to same as we do every year. Let's get in the room and let's battle. No matter what talent we have, just go out there and perform and battle, and everything will take care of itself. We have some returning guys that are going to do, considerably well. We got our heavyweight, hopefully, unless something crazy happens, is going to be right there, at the end. So we're just, and that's what we preach and practice. Hutch and myself and Stick, we just say, hey, all we got to do is go out and battle. There's nothing wrong with losing if you're going out there and battling, because if the guy's better, then he's better. So that's what we're working on now. And we look good in the room. Numbers are low, but they're working hard in the room. So.
Will Salem be filling a full lineup this year, Coach?
No.
Where are we going to be missing some guys?
Down low. We don't have 6, 13, 20. The first three we don't have. To start the year, we don't have a 26-pounder until he gets cleared from football injury. And then we won't have 32 come Friday because it's certification. He can't get down until the Hempfield match. So, because we weren't planning on wrestling the 11th. Our first first event was supposed to be the 16th. He's cleared to go to 32 at 16th. We didn't know we were going to go to the tournament on the 11th until North Hills canceled their duel. So we moved into Matt Madness in Monroeville.
Oh, okay,
on
nice.
the 11th. So
just to share with our viewers what Coach Parsley was talking about with the certification. So one of the things that's associated with wrestling is wrestlers starve themselves. That's not true. Maybe back in the day, that's kind of how things happened, but there was a gang of collected minds that said we need to stop this. So kids are actually assigned a Weightland procedure or plan, and they actually have to be hydrated and follow a plan, so that way it's more safe and healthy for all of our student athletes.
Back in the day when these guys wrestled for me and when I wrestled, all you had to do is go in, get on a scale, and then say, what weight you want to wrestle? I want to wrestle 112. I weigh 160. Okay, you wrestle 112. That's the lowest weight you can go. Well, in today's world, you have to be hydrated, so you have to go in. You have to go in a cup. If you're hydrated, they'll test you. If you're not hydrated, you got to come back the next day. So they keep it pretty much out of the coach's hands anymore. Coaches kind of dictated where the kids would wrestle. Today, it's kind of hard to do that. If the trainers are doing their job, kids can only wrestle.
Yeah. And I want to say, I think that was probably shortly before we went to college.
Yes.
Yeah, because you guys could have been right at the end, because when Anita came in as our trainer, she was the one that started that 7%, and this is how we got. Yeah. I don't know if you had to go in a cup at that point.
We didn't have to start doing that until college.
That was college.
Yeah.
So, and you mentioned it, Wednesday is potentially your first. Is that potentially your first duel this Wednesday?
Friday.
Or is that Friday?
Friday's the first day we can compete.
Okay. So, and as the cross, because I thought your first event was going to be the Crosstown Cup.
Right.
The duel against Hempfield.
That's
the
Wednesday after we could start. We just didn't have anything the first weekend.
Okay. So thinking of the Crosstown Cup, I know before. That was a big match. Just in Westmoreland County alone, I mean, I remember the gyms being packed, right? So what's the message? And if there could be a game plan going into that match, what is it? If you want to share, you don't.
Well, see, there's really, I mean, for us, there's not a game plan. I mean, Hempfield's Hempfield, and Hempfield's got a lot of guys coming back. They're really good. Go out there and battle. It's kind of tough. Our better guy, our best guy, our second best heavyweight in the state's got to wrestle the number 1 kid in the state. I mean, they could shut us out, literally. I mean, Hempfield, Greensburg, Crosstown Cup, they could shut us out because our best guys are wrestling their best guys. Our 45-pounders wrestling Lindsey Bigler. 52-pounders wrestling another stud. What do we do? I mean, so just go. This year, our heavyweight now weighs 155 or 255 pounds. He's not 230 anymore. So 285, 230, he couldn't move Isaiah. Now at 255,
he's in the
he has he can possibly be able to get off the bottom now because he's going to be bigger and stronger.
Yeah.
So, but they could ultimately shut us out. I mean, and that's unbelievable to say that rivalry that we have that there won't be come down to the heavyweight match. I mean, it's not going to be pretty.
That's always one of my favorite matches to call because they're actually two heavyweights that really get after it.
Yeah.
It's not that stereotypical, we're just going to push each other around like a couple of barbarians. They actually are technical, execute offensive leg attacks, and are very gifted athletes for that size. I mean, they can move very, very quickly. Coach, I just want to change gears a little bit. Talk a little bit about the future, the junior high program, your staff, and how that program's starting to fill up for you.
Well, we'll find out this week if we're going to even have a junior high team. Right now we have 2 kids. So I think they're going to nix it for the year. And the problem is you can't go to the school and talk to anybody because they're not in school.
Yeah.
You can call them, I'll be there, and then, mom and dad got to bring them to practice.
Yeah.
Now, since they're not in school. And what parents are home at 3 o'clock to get them to school?
Sure.
To practice. So we're going to struggle there. And with the COVID, our junior wrestling program, because at the time we were only one of 2 schools that were going to let the junior program happen in our building. Well, now they nixed that until after January 4th when we go back to school. So.
Now, Coach, do you see that being a problem that all schools are going to be faced with? I mean, now the fact, like you said, students aren't in the building, so you can't say, hey, Johnny, why don't you come out for the team, right? And I mean, you could call them, maybe you could text them, but do you think that's going to be an issue that all schools across the county, across the state are going to be faced with now?
I think they are.
Yeah.
I don't know. I haven't talked to anybody, but I know Hutch talked to Mount Pleasant coach. He says we got 4 guys. And then I imagine some of the other schools, and I imagine Hempfield's going to be in the same boat as big as they are. They're not in school. I mean, how are you going to get these kids to,
That's one of the,
this year is going to be a tough one.
It is. It's 2020 has just been a challenging year all the way around.
But it's going to carry over to 2021. That's the bad part about it.
It sure is.
And we got to deal with it until the end.
And what's tough about wrestling is, and it was kind of funny, I don't know how you felt about it, but when the rules committee suggested that we're going to allow wrestling to happen, but the ceremony is pre-match and post-match shaking hands, we're not going to let you do that.
Yeah, that's pretty funny.
Yeah, it was.
But we're allowed to go slobber sweat all over you, but we're not allowed to shake hands. I mean, that doesn't make any sense. And then now, I don't know what the mandate or the rule is for the state, but our school says we cannot participate without wearing a mask. So we got to practice with a mask, and then we got to perform with one. I don't know if Hempfield has that same policy or whatever, so we have to wrestle with this mask on. Come Friday when we go wrestle, not allowed to shake hands. We got to wear the mask, and then we're going to roll around for 6 minutes. Can't shake hands.
And then hope.
Yeah, then hope.
Coach, I have to ask, have you been able to find a mask that you can actually wear in wrestling and it doesn't fall off? How does that work?
That's what I was thinking. Or is it, because then does it become kind of a rule like the hairnet does? Or the hair cover?
Well, the hairnet's not even a rule anymore. You don't even have to wear a headnet anymore. But I'm assuming these will probably, the gaiters would be the best thing.
Right there.
Because you can wrap it over your head, put the headgear on. It might slide down over your nose, but it's not going to be...
Like these around your ear, right? Okay.
That's what we're trying to do in practice. Because we got the kids wearing those hospital masks. They
rip. Yeah, they're paper.
I don't think it's a good idea to have them wear a mask because somebody could pass out because they can't breathe. Not because a guy got a headlock on them, just because they can't breathe.
Yeah. It's already hard enough to breathe out there once you get into that
once
5th and
somebody's
6th
beating the
minute.
snot out of you, yeah.
Parsley always says it the way it is. Again, he was our assistant coach when we were at Greensburg Salem. Coach, is the culture still the same back in the day? Are you starting to see a shift in that culture with the Golden Lions? Talk a little bit about that, please.
Well, the culture has changed dramatically. Like back when you wrestled and George wrestled and the parents were involved, but they weren't. They made sure you were at practice and made sure you did everything you're supposed to do, and whatever the coach said went. Today's world's totally different. Parents aren't involved. Parents don't even know if you're coming to practice or not. And the kids aren't as, it's a shame to say, the kids aren't as tough as they used to be. So we just got to deal with that. The ones that are tough are the ones you always see at Hershey.
Right, sure. Well, the hard work pays off, so you get to reap those benefits. You put in the time, you get up at 5 in the morning, and you do the work when nobody's watching. That's kind of a message I always like to share with Luke.
Like Billy, during this, he had last football game, somebody from Highlands come down with COVID. He had to sit out 14 days, couldn't go to school, couldn't do anything. He got weights at home. He lifted and lifted and lifted when he got the clearance to come. I mean, he's a freak now. He's a junior in high school, and I've never seen anybody that size.
Yeah.
And he's not fat. He's 255 and
solid.
Doesn't have a belly on him.
Yeah.
So certain kids will work their tail off no matter what gets handed to them, and the other ones will. That's an excuse because now we can't say anything. Hey, why weren't you at practice? Well, I didn't feel good. Okay, stay away. We can't, and we kind of know the ones that are going to play that game, but that's everywhere. It's you give them the out, most kids are going to take it.
Well, the challenge has certainly increased, and Coach, we wish you the best of luck with you. I mean, our fingers are crossed. We look forward to covering some matches this year.
Yeah.
Want to thank you for joining us once again.
Hey, thank you for having me, and hopefully we get back to school hybrid at least, because if we don't go hybrid, you can't come in.
Yeah.
If we're all remote, they're not going to let fans or.
See, we were hopeful that they would allow a broadcast team to come in because the fans can't be there, and that would be their outlet.
Hopefully that could work. You'd have to talk to our administration,
sure.
but they've said that if we're remote, then they're not going to let fans in.
Well, maybe they'll make a consideration for a couple of them. We'll keep our fingers crossed.
But I think, because I heard in volleyball they had like a manager go film it and live stream it, so they probably could let. I don't see why they wouldn't let professionals do it.
Well, hey, thank you for that, professional.
Yeah.
I like that, Coach. I bet you really struggled to say that.
I wasn't going to say not that you're a professional, but.
Hey, that's our man, Randy Parsley, head coach of the Greensburg Salem Golden Lions. When we return, we will have Mark Mears.
And that'll be a big difference from having me.
Mark Mears from the Latrobe Wildcats will be joined by his daughter, Miss Hannah Mears, when we return on the Westmoreland Sports Network.